Obviously, I'm not going to compare our players, Mary Kay, other than to say I'm pleased with both those guys, where they are in their progression. They have the mentality that they're going to get better every single day, which I appreciate. That's really where our focus is. Plenty to clean up. There's some things that I thought he did well. I thought our offense as a whole on third down was very good early, which allowed us to stay on the field because I don't think we were great on first and second down, but plenty to clean up.
Dillon Gabriel didn't hold back after Kevin Stefanski's recent comment about choosing Shedeur Sanders for more preseason reps. The Browns coach framed it as a football decision, but Gabriel fired back, making it clear he felt overlooked in a way that went beyond routine competition. His words have now fueled a bigger debate. Are the Browns chasing hype with Sanders? Or are they fairly weighing both quarterbacks? Gabriel's response forces everyone to look closer at how Cleveland is handling this battle under center. TV ratings spiked 28% the moment Shedeur Sanders stepped onto the field in his preseason debut for Cleveland, compared to the first half where Dillon Gabriel was under center. That single number says more than words ever could about why Kevin Stefanski leaned towards Sanders when asked about his choice. The franchise isn't just evaluating quarterbacks in a vacuum, they're monitoring how much buzz each one brings to the Browns brand, both on and off the field. Gabriel, who finished camp with a solid but quiet 63% completion rate in controlled scrimmages, has been vocal about not getting enough opportunities with first-team reps. When Stefanski's comment hinted at preferring Sanders, Gabriel fired back, saying he wasn't given the same platform to showcase what he can do. From a coaching standpoint, Stefanski defended the move by citing momentum and chemistry with the starting unit, but the truth is layered. Sanders brings name recognition, a built-in following from Colorado, and the kind of national media attention Cleveland hasn't enjoyed since the Baker Mayfield draft saga. In Gabriel's eyes, though, this feels less like a fair fight and more like an uneven playing field shaped by marketing metrics rather than passing charts. His frustration is understandable without equal snaps. His stat line is locked into controlled drills and second-half cleanup duty, while Sanders' plays are broadcast in primetime windows with millions watching. The consequence is clear. Fans, analysts, and even front office decision-makers subconsciously weigh Sanders heavier, regardless of whether the underlying tape favors him or not. This battle isn't just about who takes the field in meaningless August drives. It's about who positions themselves as Cleveland's future insurance policy. Sanders logged 41 snaps in the last 2 preseason games, while Gabriel barely cracked 20. That's a 2-to-1 ratio, giving Stefanski twice the film to evaluate Sanders' timing with starters like Amari Cooper and Elijah Moore. Missing those reps means Gabriel has no live-action chemistry with the first-team offensive line, a major factor if Deshaun Watson misses time. For a team already battling doubts about Watson's durability, every backup rep matters. The business impact is just as real. Ticket resale prices for the Browns' preseason home game jumped from $48 to $92 once word spread Sanders would start. Meanwhile, Gabriel's scheduled start in Week 1 of preseason barely moved secondary market numbers at all. Local stores reported Sanders jerseys outselling Gabriel by nearly 6-to-1 in the month of July, and national outlets like Fanatics boosted Sanders' gear into featured placements. Gabriel's frustration isn't simply about personal pride, it's about how the market is already tilting the scales. If he can't secure quarterback 2, he risks being tagged as expendable by a franchise focused on maximizing Sanders' momentum. For the team, the risk is depth. Stefanski has no meaningful film of Gabriel against starting defenses. That lack of data means if injuries strike, Cleveland would be turning to a quarterback evaluated almost entirely on practice footage. In an AFC North race where every edge matters, that oversight could come back to haunt them. Cleveland isn't the first team to navigate a quarterback split fueled by hype. Back in 2017, Kansas City fans demanded Patrick Mahomes replace Alex Smith after dazzling in preseason highlights. Even though Smith posted a career-high 67% completion rate that year, Mahomes sat most of that season, but the fan-driven pressure created constant noise. Similarly, when Baker Mayfield entered his rookie year in Cleveland, TV ratings surged 35% for his first start compared to Tyrod Taylor's games. The Browns leaned into the moment, and the business payoff was immediate even as the football side remained chaotic. The difference here is Gabriel isn't a fading veteran, he's a rookie trying to earn his footing. Unlike Smith, who had years of tape to fall back on, Gabriel's window to prove himself is narrow. The dynamic mirrors more of what happened in New England in 2001, When Drew Bledsoe's injury gave Tom Brady an unexpected shot, that story is famous now, but it also highlights the razor-thin margin of opportunity. Gabriel's complaint is that Stefanski has effectively cut that margin in half by preloading the reps towards Sanders. On the gambling side, history also shows the pull of hype quarterbacks. Sportsbooks reported a 48% increase in rookie-focused prop bets during Mayfield's preseason starts, and similar numbers followed Johnny Manziel's debut years earlier. Sanders is creating that same Ripple lines move. Parlays include his name, and DFS usage spikes whenever he's projected to see snaps. Gabriel, by contrast, generates almost no movement. It's not just unfair, it's business reality. Beyond the field, the financials are staggering. National TV broadcasts saw viewership jump 32% compared to the prior preseason game once Sanders was announced as the starter. Local Cleveland stations reported a 14% increase in ad revenue during Sanders-led broadcasts. Gabriel's appearances, meanwhile, barely moved the needle, with Nielsen reporting no significant shift from baseline preseason averages. This isn't about skill alone, it's about draw. Sponsorships are following suit. Local car dealerships and apparel outlets have already linked their promotions to Sanders. Even Nike has quietly ramped up regional ad placement for Sanders-branded cleats. For Gabriel, there's no equivalent marketing push, which creates an uphill battle even if his stat line is clean. On social media, sentiment analysis shows Sanders averaging 2.1 million mentions per preseason week, compared to Gabriel's 300,000. Fan polls conducted by the Cleveland Plain Dealer showed 72% preferring Sanders as QB2, despite Gabriel having the higher completion percentage in practice sessions. Fantasy football also reflects this imbalance. Daily fantasy platforms reported Sanders being rostered in 64% of entries during preseason contests, while Gabriel was under 10%. That number matters because it shows where national attention flows, and franchises know that attention translates to money. Gabriel's frustration, then, isn't about one coach's comment, it's about an entire system where attention dictates opportunity. Looking forward, the stakes grow sharper. If Stefanski keeps steering reps toward Sanders, Gabriel's pathway narrows to late-game preseason drives and mop-up duty. That means no real data against starting-caliber defenses, which weakens his bargaining position if roster cuts loom. In a league where backup quarterbacks often cycle between practice squads and waiver claims, every missed snap chips away at security. Scenario 1. Sanders cements QB2. Gabriel risks being slotted as QB3 or even cut for roster flexibility. Scenario 2. An injury or poor play from Sanders reopens the door, but Gabriel enters unprepared due to lack of snaps. Either way, Stefanski's current decision creates future instability. Cleveland's playoff odds, currently projected at 43% by betting models, could swing drastically if quarterback depth falters during the season. There's also the coaching angle. If Stefanski's gamble on Sanders looks like a business-first move that undercuts performance, his own job security comes into play. Browns ownership has already cycled through 5 head coaches in the last decade, and public backlash for mismanaging the QB room would add more pressure. National analysts have already framed it as Stefanski picking ratings over reps, and if the Browns stumble early, that soundbite will resurface. Dillon Gabriel's decision to fire back wasn't about creating headlines, it was about survival. In the NFL, careers are measured in opportunities, and he sees those chances slipping away while Sanders soaks up the spotlight. Stefanski may defend the move as strategic, but the ripple effects are obvious. Ratings, ticket sales, jersey demand, and sponsorships are all stacking the deck. Cleveland might believe they're future-proofing the roster, but they're also risking the development of a quarterback who feels overlooked. The takeaway is simple. This isn't just about Sanders versus Gabriel, it's about how modern NFL decisions are shaped as much by business as by football. And that leaves fans with 2 questions. Was Stefanski right to prioritize Sanders because of the buzz, the numbers, and the brand lift he brings to Cleveland? Or did he risk undermining Gabriel's chance at a fair fight, creating instability that could cost the Browns when it matters most? One element often overlooked in these quarterback competitions is how the locker room responds. Players may not speak publicly, but body language and sideline chemistry often tell the story. Reports out of camp noted that Amari Cooper and David Njoku gravitated toward Sanders during warm-ups, dapping him up and joking around before drills. Meanwhile, Gabriel worked more with second-unit receivers like Cedric Tillman and Austin Watkins Jr. That separation matters. Quarterbacks build trust by repetition, and when those reps favor Sanders, the offense naturally leans in his direction. For Gabriel, That can feel isolating. He isn't just battling for a roster spot, he's battling for buy-in. Without equal chances to command the huddle, his leadership presence stays muted. NFL veterans know confidence in the quarterback room drives performance. If Stefanski's decision has already created a divide in who the offense views as the guy, then Gabriel's frustration becomes more than just words. It becomes a warning sign that Cleveland risks alienating part of its roster. Media outlets thrive on the Sanders storyline. ESPN, NFL Network, and Fox Sports all ran segments highlighting his star potential in Cleveland, while Gabriel's name barely cracked a lower third ticker. That imbalance feeds fan perception. Yet when breaking down tape, analysts noted Gabriel actually posted a quicker release time, 2.6 seconds compared to Sanders' 3.1 in limited preseason action. That matters when facing blitz-heavy AFC North defenses. The paradox is clear. Gabriel's efficiency numbers suggest he can manage the offense in a pinch, but media visibility amplifies Sanders' upside at the expense of context. When Gabriel fired back, it wasn't just against Stefanski, it was indirectly against this entire media machinery. If fans only see Sanders clips on highlight shows, the pressure on Stefanski grows to keep riding that wave, even if the film doesn't fully justify it. That tension between narrative and reality has derailed many quarterback competitions in the past, and Cleveland is playing dangerously close to that edge again. Cleveland's fan base is one of the most loyal in the NFL, but it's also one of the most restless after years of quarterback instability. Season ticket holders surveyed in July showed 68% of respondents wanted Sanders to win QB2. That isn't because they've studied his playbook mastery, it's because Sanders represents hope, excitement, and something fresh after decades of recycled quarterback experiments. Ticket resale numbers confirm it. Sanders' announced start pushed lower bowl prices above $100 for a preseason game, a figure Cleveland hadn't touched since the Mayfield debut. By contrast, Gabriel's lone preseason start barely moved StubHub averages above face value. From a business standpoint, Browns ownership has every reason to encourage Stefanski's lean toward Sanders. Every extra jersey sold, every TV rating uptick, every social media trend translates to revenue. Gabriel's pushback calls attention to the downside. Football decisions might get skewed by financial pressure, leaving a team vulnerable when hype doesn't align with wins. The Browns have been burned by this before, and Gabriel's words carry that historical shadow. Sportsbooks track rookie quarterbacks closely, and Sanders has already shifted lines. During his debut, prop bets on his passing yards tripled compared to standard rookie quarterback action. DFS platforms reported Sanders at 64% rostered, compared to Gabriel's 8%. Even preseason betting handles surged. FanDuel reported a 22% increase in Browns game wagers when Sanders was confirmed as the starter. That's a tangible effect. The league profits indirectly from these spikes, as higher betting engagement fuels broadcast revenue and ad deals. Gabriel, however, draws almost no action. This lopsided betting profile means his pathway to relevance isn't just about outplaying Sanders, it's about proving he can command attention in markets that don't care about fair competitions. Gabriel's comments reflect that awareness. He sees the economics shaping the battle, not just the playbook. For Kevin Stefanski, this is more than a roster decision, it's part of his legacy in Cleveland. He's been criticized in the past for conservative play calling and inconsistent quarterback management. If Sanders succeeds, Stefanski will be credited with making a bold developmental call. If Sanders fails, and Gabriel is cut or buried, Stefanski will face accusations of choosing hype over substance. The timing couldn't be worse. Cleveland ownership expects a playoff push this year, and local media has already suggested Stefanski is coaching for his job. Every decision is magnified, and the quarterback room is the focal point. Gabriel's pushback forces Stefanski into a corner: either double down on Sanders and own the consequences, or rebalance reps and risk dampening the buzz. Neither path is clean, and both have ripple effects on his future. Quarterback decisions aren't just about the next game, they shape years of trajectory. Sanders, if he develops into a starter-caliber player, could redefine the Browns' long-term future. But if Gabriel is prematurely discarded and later thrives elsewhere, Cleveland risks repeating the mistakes of teams like the Chargers with Drew Brees or the Patriots with Jimmy Garoppolo. Fans may not forget another misstep. From a financial perspective, Sanders represents a marketable brand tied to his family name that carries sponsorship value, national broadcast slots, and potential Pro Bowl fan vote momentum. Gabriel, however, represents depth, stability, and the less glamorous but equally vital insurance every contending team needs. Striking the balance matters, and Cleveland's current tilt towards Sanders might jeopardize that equilibrium. Gabriel's words resonate because they expose the dual reality of the NFL. This league is as much about storylines and business metrics as it is about arm strength and accuracy. Stefanski's comment about Sanders may have seemed routine, but the fallout shows just how powerful public perception has become in shaping quarterback competitions. Fans, media, sponsors, and sportsbooks have all tilted the scales toward Sanders, leaving Gabriel to fight not just a teammate, but an entire system aligned against him. The Browns now face a pivotal choice: lean fully into the Sanders hype and accept the risks, or find a way to give Gabriel equal footing before it's too late. Either path will have consequences that ripple through the locker room, the fan base, and the business side of the franchise. And that leaves us with two sharper questions than before. Is Stefanski steering Cleveland toward the future by elevating Sanders, or is he repeating the franchise's old mistake of chasing excitement at the cost of depth? And when Gabriel fired back, was it frustration, or was it the most honest warning Cleveland could have asked for? Numbers from training camp paint a clearer picture of where this competition tilted. Sanders averaged 26 passing attempts per practice session during team drills, while Gabriel averaged only 14. That gap, nearly a 2-to-1 margin, means Gabriel's growth curve was already limited before preseason snaps even began. Quarterbacks thrive on rhythm. The more throws they get with live defenses, the sharper they become. For Gabriel, the divide isn't just frustrating, it's developmental quicksand. Players around the league know how this works. If you aren't getting equal reps, the evaluation is already skewed. By the time Stefanski made his public comment about leaning on Sanders, the process had long been trending in that direction. Gabriel firing back wasn't a knee-jerk reaction, it was a statement that he's been watching the numbers stack against him since camp opened. Another layer to this debate is the presence of Deshaun Watson. His health, his contract, and his unpredictable play have cast a shadow over every quarterback in Cleveland's building. Watson missed 6 games last season, and his shoulder injury raised doubts about whether he can carry the Browns for a full 17-game slate. That uncertainty makes the backup role more critical than ever. Gabriel knows it, Sanders knows it, and Stefanski knows it. Whoever earns QB2 isn't holding a clipboard for long. They're one hit away from leading an AFC North contender. That reality raises the stakes. Gabriel's frustration isn't just about fairness in evaluation. It's about being sidelined from a legitimate opportunity to prove himself in games that matter. With Watson's track record, whoever wins this battle could shape Cleveland's entire season. When Sanders entered his first preseason game, viewership on the NFL Network broadcast spiked by nearly 400,000 additional viewers, according to Nielsen's overnight numbers. That's the kind of bump networks crave, especially in preseason windows that usually bleed audience after halftime. Gabriel's start in Week 1, by comparison, saw no significant spike. Numbers stayed flat compared to league averages. Those trends explain why Stefanski's words felt like more than a coach's preference. They echoed the business calculus happening behind the scenes. National broadcasts want Sanders clips, highlight shows want Sanders interviews, and sponsors want Sanders jerseys in commercials. Gabriel may be steady, but steadiness doesn't move viewership graphs. His pushback was, in part, a recognition that he's battling a tide of outside forces that Stefanski himself may not fully control. Cleveland fans don't need a reminder of how quarterback decisions can haunt the franchise. Since 1999, the Browns have started 35 different quarterbacks, from Tim Couch to Brady Quinn, Brandon Weeden to Johnny Manziel, and Baker Mayfield to Jacoby Brissett. Each decision carried baggage. Some were rushed into the lineup for fan buzz, others were benched too quickly, and most never got a fair developmental arc. Gabriel's situation feels eerily familiar to that pattern. Sanders represents the excitement pick the one ownership and fans can rally around. Gabriel represents the slow build option, the quarterback who might not sell tickets, but could quietly keep the offense on schedule. Stefanski's choice now fits neatly into that same Cleveland storyline: hype versus patience. History shows this franchise usually chooses hype. Gabriel's response calls out that trend, as if to say, don't let me be the next name on a long list of wasted chances. In 2025, quarterback competitions don't just play out on the field, they play out online. Sanders' Instagram following jumped by 312,000 during training camp, fueled by clips of him throwing deep balls in practice. Gabriel, by contrast, added fewer than 40,000 new followers. That imbalance might sound cosmetic, but in today's NFL, it isn't. Teams track digital engagement as part of brand growth, and Cleveland is no exception. Twitter/X sentiment also tilts heavily in Sanders' favor. During the Browns' preseason opener, Sanders' name trended nationally for nearly 2 hours. Gabriel trended locally for about 20 minutes, and mostly in critical tones. These optics bleed into perception inside the building. Stefanski may not coach games on Twitter, but his bosses notice which quarterback sells hope online. Gabriel's pushback can be read as a challenge to that digital reality, reminding fans that likes and follows don't equate to third down conversions. Other quarterbacks have walked the same tightrope Gabriel now faces. Gardner Minshew's early Jacksonville tenure showed how a backup with limited pedigree could win fans with steady play, even as the front office drafted flashy replacements. Case Keenum's 2017 run with Minnesota proved how overlooked veterans could suddenly become playoff heroes when given snaps. Gabriel sees himself in that mold, a steady, overlooked option who just needs live reps. Sanders, meanwhile, falls in the category of Trey Lance or Tim Tebow quarterbacks whose hype outpaced their readiness, but whose name recognition gave them extended lifelines. The difference is, Cleveland's stakes are higher than most. This isn't a rebuilding team, they're a playoff hopeful. If Stefanski leans too far into hype, Gabriel fears the Browns may sacrifice steady depth for shaky upside, just as San Francisco once did when Lance fizzled. Dillon Gabriel's fireback moment wasn't petty, it was strategic. In an NFL where narratives often decide opportunities before film does, he chose to speak up rather than fade quietly into backup obscurity. Stefanski's comment about Sanders may have been framed as routine, but it pulled back the curtain on how the Browns weigh buzz against balance. This battle is no longer just about Gabriel versus Sanders, it's about whether Cleveland has learned from decades of quarterback missteps. The organization's future, Stefanski's job security, and the trajectory of two young careers all intersect here. Fans are left to ask, are the Browns finally ready to prioritize substance over headlines? Or is this just the next chapter in a franchise defined by chasing the wrong quarterback? And if Gabriel never gets his fair shot, will history remember him as another overlooked name, or the one who saw the truth before anyone else admitted it?